All right, we can get started here just because I know Alicia and I know she's got lots of content to share with you. So I will just give a brief introduction. So thank you all for coming. It's nice to see some familiar names and faces. My name is Caroline. I am the Community and Partnerships Lead here at Lighthouse. And this is an event that is part of our Career Accelerator, which some of you are probably already part of the community, or maybe you've just joined us. Essentially, the Career Accelerator was launched alongside our commitment to $1 million in scholarships for those who had their careers rudely interrupted by COVID-19. And the purpose of the Career Accelerator is really to leverage our career services experience and work alongside industry partners and leaders such as Alicia to provide the most relevant content from on the ground in tech to help support people who want to break into that industry. So this is actually the third event that Alicia has run with us, and they are always phenomenal. And Alicia comes from a background of everything under the sun to do with HR, helping you find a job, business expertise, and I'm going to let Alicia introduce herself because I won't do it justice. But with that, I'm just going to hand it off to Alicia. If anyone has any questions for me about Lighthouse programs, I'll be here the whole time. Feel free to privately message me in the chat or throw your questions in the chat. And just one housekeeping thing, we are recording the event, so questions are definitely encouraged, but just keep in mind that if you're turning your mic and camera off, you will be recorded. But I'll be monitoring the chat for questions as well, so feel free to use that. And Alicia always leaves time for a few questions at the end as well. So with that, Alicia, take it away. I'm excited to see what you have for us.
Great. Thank you so much, Carolyn, and thank you so much, everyone, for coming. And Caroline has just always done such a great job of, creating such an awesome community here within Lighthouse Labs and the Career Accelerator group. So thank you so much for taking the time as always. Perfect. So I'm so excited to be talking to everyone this afternoon about Job Searching 101. So really the ultimate guide to effective job searching. We're going to get right into it and make sure that you get every single minute of content that I have available, because Caroline was right in terms of the amount that we will be going through today, because it is quite a bit. So I'm going to do a little bit of an introduction about myself so that everybody is familiar with, who I am and the experience that I bring to the table to talk to everyone about this topic. Then we're going to go right into challenges in your job search, top 10 must-have /do's for an effective job search. And then we're going to talk about recruiters and like how to manage, relationships with recruiters, how to find the right one for your job search, and all in between. Well, then I'm going to get into resume essentials, how to upskill yourself for the job market, branding yourself in the market, and then how to maximize your search for the holidays, because those are literally right around the corner. Awesome. So for myself, as Caroline mentioned, 10 years in the HR and talent management industry. To date, I've done actually over now 7,000 interviews and counting, which is pretty crazy. I've hired for government, full-time, part-time roles in all industries: tech, creative, administrative, management, executive, and leadership. International experience. So, born and raised in Toronto, actually just moved to New York in January, and I've worked and done work overseas as well. So definitely got that international scope. And then in 2018, I decided to venture out on my own, and I started my own HR consultancy firm called Culture Shift HR, where I work with companies to create purposeful work environments. And then on the flip, I help individuals on how to be successful in them with providing them the best coaching and accountability tools. So with that, let's get right into it. So obviously everyone is here because, they're in the market, you're trying to find your next great opportunity, and you've had some challenges. You haven't been getting the responses that you've been looking for. Things just haven't been turning out in your favor. So you could possibly not be having a clear direction on where you want to go and how you're going to get there. You're not beating the applicant tracking systems every time you submit your resume, and it seems like it just goes into some massive black hole. You don't have maybe very many connections. Networking may not be your strong suit. So how do you to start to leverage and build a community to then help you get your job can also be really frustrating. And then through that, you're not getting any interviews, no one's calling you back, therefore not leading to any offers. Maybe you're pivoting your career and you don't have a lot of industry experience, so that could be getting in the way as well. And then all of that really does take a toll on our confidence. We start to beat down on ourselves and not feel that we're ever going to find that next opportunity. So I imagine there's either one or more of these challenges that you've been facing or are experiencing right now as we speak. And I want to let you know that I am here to help. So my objective and my goal to this afternoon is to make sure that every item that we've just covered as a challenge is covered as a solution in the content we are about to go through right now. So keep your eyes peeled. There will be a recording of this session, as Caroline mentioned, but please take notes and please do present any questions you have at the end of the session. So to get things kicking off, let's talk about the top 10 must-haves and do's for an effective job search. So number one is you do need to get really clear on what you want. So whether it's staying in your current career field that you've been working in for the past couple of years, or it's something that you want to pivot into, you really need to get specific and know the why and what of what you want. And so ways that you could start to do this is really about research. So what is it the things that you are really interested in doing? Maybe you were an administrative assistant or somebody in operations and you have a passion for cooking and you want to go into the culinary arts. Well, why the culinary arts? Is it because you grew up and maybe you have a family member that was a chef or in that industry? Has it just always been a burning passion of yours and you've always dreamed of opening your own restaurant? Whatever it is that's driving you to that career, follow it. Understand what is fueling that, because that is going to be key as you start to figure out why that's the direction you want to go in. And then two, it really is the launching point of how you're going to start to make momentum and start to go down that path to making that your next job or career. Next is you want to research your target companies. So if you're trying to get into tech, if you're trying to get into a certain industry, research the companies that you want to work for. And it's so important, and I tell all my clients this, that you want to make your top 5, top 10 target list, because in that you can understand the company culture, know other employees that work there, network with those people. And if you're really specific about your search, then you could start to make those right moves to then start to get an entrance point into those organizations. And so that's where networking comes in, because it's super important that as you start to identify where you want to work, that you then start to meet people who work there. You could do informal one-to-ones, talk to them about their career, and then hopefully they can make you an introduction to a recruiter or a hiring manager for a role that they have open. So getting specific about where you want to go is going to be very helpful in your job search. Number 3, you want to tailor your resume to each job. And it's so important because you want to make sure that you have examples and stories that showcase your skills. Your resume is literally, your advertisement. So it's so important that for someone who has no clue who you are, that when they read the resume, they get a clear understanding of, what you do, your accomplishments, the years of experience and skill set that you have. So make sure that if you're reading different job postings, that you're highlighting different keywords or identifying key traits that are in the job description so that you, one, beat the ATS or the applicant tracking system, and number 2, you're seen as the right fit for the position. Recruiters, we're going to get into this in a second, but really only spend maybe 8 to 10 seconds looking at a resume. So unless those points are going to jump off of the page when they read it, it's so important that we're very specific and show how we align to those positions. Number 4, you want to create an online brand. You need to start to see yourself as someone who is, a walking billboard. So not only now do we no longer, work in the offices, it makes so much sense that our online presence is that much more stronger and that much more clearer. So it's important that you identify what is your online career brand. Again, are you that administrative person, that operations individual that's looking to pivot into tech? So what's your career story? How do we make that come alive online? Or are you looking to go in a different direction? Whatever that might be for yourself, it's so important that you're very clear on what your messaging is, what that looks like for you, and then you start to advertise and market yourself online, because that will help you network and get you in the right rooms. Number 5, get organized. I tell my clients this all the time. Have a job application tracker. very simple, an Excel spreadsheet with the company, the title, and the day you applied, and maybe some key points on the job description, or even a link to the job description. The reason it's going to be so important that you keep organized is because to do an effective job search, you want to be targeting 5 to 10 job postings a week. I always tell everybody a job search is a full-time job. So you want to make sure that you're not duplicating efforts and reapplying to the same jobs. You want to make sure that as you're networking, you could see, okay, I just applied to Facebook. I see my friend has a friend at Facebook. Let me see if she can connect us so that I could talk to her about the job. Keeping yourself organized will be extremely helpful because it's going to allow you to make any moves that you make more strategic and more intentional so that you're not wasting time and you can get back to the job search. Number 6, you need to build, cultivate, and utilize your network of contacts. I know that networking may not come as easily to everybody, but even just understanding the fundamentals of networking, like being very clear on your why, having your elevator pitch, and looking and introducing yourself to people on LinkedIn can be just the baby steps you need to start to open you up to a new world of possibilities and a new world of people that can help you find success in your next role. Now, this could be someone who can open a door for you, make an introduction, allow you to, just build your network in terms of other people that they could introduce you to for other opportunities. But in today's day and age, especially with the market being as competitive it is, having a network that not only supports you, but that is also helping you do the work is going to be so important to landing that next job. Number 7, don't limit yourself to just online applications. And it kind of ties back right into the networking piece. A lot of roles just come via social media, through Instagram posts, through Facebook, Twitter. People are posting jobs all the time. So if you see a post on a Slack or a Twitter board, reply, ask them how you get more information. Maybe the person who posted it is the hiring manager or the recruiter. Bam, you have a contact. So use social media to your advantage. There is also a new platform out there. Maybe it's not as new because I'm so behind the times when it comes to this stuff, called Clubhouse. I heard it's quite exclusive. Sometimes you need an invite to get in. I don't know all the details, but I have been hearing amazing stories how they'll have chat rooms just about jobs and people posting jobs, meeting people, then they'll make their own chat room and do a mini interview. So social media is where it's at, especially with work from home and that we're all virtual. Get on those platforms. Number 8, aim to complete a few job-related goals daily. I understand that job searching can be overwhelming. You have to figure out a lot of stuff. You feel like you keep changing and pivoting, and someone says this, and then they say, don't do this, and you don't know what to do. Make a very clear and very simple to-do list every day. So say today, you have errands to run, meetings to attend, and you can't apply for 5 jobs. That's okay. What can you do? Maybe you can get someone to read over your resume. Maybe you can meet someone via LinkedIn and do a casual coffee chat. Maybe you can start to, polish up your cover letter or start to work on your online brand. Whatever it is that works for you, just make sure you're making a list so that you're feeling like you're accomplishing something every single day. And then number 9, prepare for all job interviews. And that means from the phone screening all the way up to the final stage, at every single moment, you are being evaluated for this position. So make sure you are preparing from top to bottom, from your job tools and, your resume, cover letter, LinkedIn profile, to, your career story, to key examples of how you've made impact and change in your careers and roles, as well as references. With holidays coming up, a lot of people might be taking time off, even if they're not going anywhere, or maybe they're just shutting down for a couple weeks. So it's important that you have those pieces in place so that as you progress through the roles and the different levels of interviews, you have all your content ready. And then last but certainly not least is be kind to yourself. Job searching can be extremely stressful. It could be very daunting, and know that you do not have to go through it alone. You have an amazing community here with the Career Accelerator group with Lighthouse Labs. There are tons of groups online and social media that help people through finding their next opportunity. So take advantage of these resources. Continue to connect with others who are also in the same boat as you so you don't feel like you're alone. And then take a break as well. Job searching 7 days a week is exhausting. Take, a Sunday off and just focus on you. Maybe do some exercise, clear your mind, go for walks, whatever it is that gets you to where you need to be, make sure you're making time for that because that is very important. So I want to hop right into recruiters. And before we get into the details here, a recruiter is an incredible tool that I encourage everybody to connect with to help you in your job search. And that is exactly what the next few slides are going to be about, because there's a lot of misconceptions about what recruiters are, how they help you, who they're really working for. And so I'm really hoping to debunk some myths here, and really start to, give you some guidance on how to work and utilize recruiters. So a recruiter is essentially, aside from what's on the slide, they are an individual that works with different companies and clients, corporate clients, to help them find the talent they need. So a recruiter, 9 times out of 10, will always work for a company, like work for on behalf of, say, a Google or a Facebook or, a corporation, and they do not work for, say, the candidate. And the reason that that is because Google, Facebook, and all these companies are paying the recruiter as soon as they find an applicant that meets the job posting recommendations. So that's who they're getting their income from, is the Amazons, the Googles, the Facebook. So it's important to understand that, because it may seem that recruiters aren't paying attention to you, or they're just, maybe not replying to your message. They have to fit the criteria of the employer that has hired them. So it's not necessarily that they don't want to spend more time with you, or that your search isn't as important. It's just that they need to make sure that they're being specific to the roles that have come to their desk. So a quick kind of what is not a recruiter. So a recruiter, as I kind of just mentioned, is not your personal job finder. They will work with you as long as your background and skills and qualifications fit the position they have from their client. They want to make sure that it's a good fit for you, that you're set up for success, and that you're able to do the role. And they also want to make sure that the client is happy with the caliber of talent that they're presenting to them. After that position is either filled with someone else, or unfortunately, it didn't work out with you, they may still put you forward for other jobs as it meets your criteria. But after that, that's where the relationship kind of starts to separate. So they will not personally be trying to bring you jobs every day and trying to set you up for interviews. They will only if it's advantageous to them and their clients. So sometimes they'll reach out to you, you'll be talking for 3 or 4 weeks, and then they go cold. Again, it's not because they don't want to work with you, it's just they have to work with other candidates that meet the job description better. They are not your resume writer. So it's important that when you interact with a recruiter, that you have your job tools ready to a T. Your cover letter, resume, LinkedIn, that all needs to be A+ grade, because your recruiter will not be fixing that for you. They may give you some suggestions, again, based on what the client criteria is, so that gets highlighted better. But other than that, they will not be redoing your resume for you. And if your resume does not come correct when you meet with them, then they may not want to work with you in the first place. So having your tools ready is definitely very important. They're also not your career coach. So, as we just talked about the challenges and, how to overcome, some of the fatigue we feel in a job search, your recruiter isn't going to be your career coach and necessarily giving you advice on your career and, how to apply for this job and how to network. Again, they will help you with your interview to make sure that you're set up for success with the client, but that's really where their main responsibilities lie. Outside of that, they'll give you some general tips, but they will not personally guarantee you any roles or positions. And then lastly, they are not your buddy to vent to. A recruiter is a professional relationship, so it's important that you utilize them in that way. Of course, we all get frustrated, and maybe they sent you on a job and you didn't get it. You can let them know how you feel, but make sure you keep that relationship as professional as possible, because if this job didn't work out, you want to make sure that they still continue to work with you for future jobs that come on their table. So what is a recruiter? They help you with exposure in your search. So some roles go straight to agency before they even hit an online job board. So if you have the right recruiter, they could be calling you to say, hey, I got a job. It's not even active on the market yet. I want to put your resume through. So they will start to expose you to new jobs that aren't even out on the interwebs yet. So that could be an awesome advantage for you. They will market you. They will put you forward for different clients. Even if a client doesn't have a role, but they feel that you'd be a great fit, they would maybe do, a pass of your resume, say, hey, I just got this great candidate in. I know you don't have anything available now, but in the future, I highly recommend we talk about this person because they would be a great fit for XYZ project. So they will do that because in turn, that might open up a role that wasn't even open in the first place. And then 3, they will give you tips on how to be successful. But again, it will be applicable to the client or to the job that they have you positioned for. So they'll be like, arrive 10 minutes early. This is their names. This is the background of the role, because they want you to land the job, because at the end of the day, that's how they get the commission. So it's important that, when you're successful, they're successful. And then lastly, they are job search professionals. So if you have a question about the job market, different industries, what they're seeing from a salary perspective, definitely ask them. They are in the market, day in and day out, working with tons of candidates. So they can give you advice on, what the job market's looking like, what are the sectors that are really hot right now, what are maybe some salary ranges, and kind of give you that fundamental knowledge that they have readily available to them. And so with that, you want to make sure that you find a recruiter that works good for you. There are tons of recruiters out there, and they each have either their own industry, like their industry specific, role specific. They may have a niche, organizational specific, maybe with only large companies or maybe with only small companies. So you really want to find one that will work for you based on what you're looking for in your career. So where do you start? Number 1, you want to ask your network and get recommendations. Asking your network about, experiences they've had with recruiters, people they've liked, people they didn't like, will take out a whole bunch of work for you as you find the recruiter that's right for you. You don't need to spend hours and hours looking up different LinkedIn profiles of recruiters, but getting that recommendation can literally save you time and get you to your job that much faster. Number 2, you want to make sure you do research. So look at recruiters on LinkedIn, different recruitment agencies like Robert Half or Adecco, and find agencies that maybe a bit smaller in size, but again, have that focus. So say you're in the IT space, a lot of larger organizations like Robert Half or Adecco will have an IT sector just focused on IT roles. So you want to make sure you're connected with a recruiter in that sector. Or maybe there's a small niche where they may do a variety of IT roles, but they have one recruiter that focuses on back end versus front end. Whatever it is that you need, make sure that you're doing your research so that you get the right person first and foremost. And then number 3, read reviews. LinkedIn and Glassdoor are amazing for reviews for either recruitment agencies on a whole or even individual recruiters on the LinkedIn side. So go to their profile, see if they have any recommendations, any reviews, and then that will also give you a sense of what to expect when you're working with this recruiter. Are they going to get back to me on time? Are they going to, follow up with me? Because candidates can be pretty brutal in terms of their honesty. So making sure you're doing your research ahead of time will save you headache from later on down the road. And so now you found your ideal recruiter, you're super excited to start working with them, but how do you engage with them for the first time? And number 1 is you want to treat a recruiter like you would a potential employer, because that's what it is. They are essentially your, job board for all their clients and all their rosters. So you want to keep it professional. You want to introduce yourself, give them some background of why you want to work with them specifically. Tell them you were recommended by a friend, that they have great reviews online, that you want to partner with them to help you get your next role. So that will be a really great entrance point as a recruiter who's reading this email or getting this phone call, to be like, you know what, I do want to work with this person. Because not everybody that goes to a recruiter does the recruiter choose to work with. They can be selective as well based on what they have on their desk. So having that great entrance point is going to make sure that you land that recruiter successfully. Number 2, and something we've been talking about quite frequently, is having your job tools ready. Resume, cover letter, LinkedIn should be already polished and ready to go before you even engage, because the first email they will write back to you is send me your resume, send me your LinkedIn. So you want to have that at the ready. And then last is you need to be patient. Recruiters are extremely busy. I was in a recruiter role for over 3 years. You can have anywhere from 15 to 25 to 30 job recs on your table that you have to fill at any given time. And so they are speaking to candidates constantly, new clients constantly. They're following up with other jobs and that are in different, stages. And so if you don't hear back, wait a week, follow up, send a note, but I wouldn't say don't hound them, because they are quite busy, and trust me, when it's important, they will get back to you. So now that you've started the recruiter relationship, how do you start to nurture that relationship to make sure that the recruiter is working on your behalf consistently? Number one is you need to make sure that you're keeping your recruiter updated on a regular basis. And that means anything pertaining to your search. So if you got the role, didn't get a role, looking for a new position, say you made a change on your resume, anything that is, has changed in your search, let them know. And the reason is because they are not mind readers. As we just discussed, they are extremely busy. So making sure that they have your latest and greatest resume, that you're keeping them posted if you're on the market, not on the market, that will show that you are serious about this relationship, and they will go the extra mile for you. Number two, send them referrals and spread the word about how they have helped you. Recruiters love referrals because it takes some of the legwork of having to find new candidates when they need to put people onto jobs. So if you had a great relationship with your recruiter, send them people, send them your friends, your family, other people that are looking for work. Your recruiter will thank you 10 times over because they love to build their network as well. And then bring them jobs you are interested as well. Even if they may not have the job posting on their desk or they're not working on it, they may have a contact. So say you see a position on Google, and you want to know if they have it in, you can reach out and say, hey, I saw this role. Do you know the hiring manager there? Or is there a recruiter you could introduce me to? Bringing roles to them will, again, save them a lot of work, because then if they secure that job, they're going to get the commission. So it's like you're kind of helping them win from that perspective as well. And because not all jobs do go to recruiters, they may do it to their job board. So making sure that you're keeping them posted on what positions you're interested in is going to be very key. And then last and probably most importantly is be honest with them in your search. If you don't like how the search is going, if you didn't like how an interview went, you don't like a client, let them know. Be honest, because they can't find what's right for you if you're not being honest with them about what you're looking for. So making sure that you're upfront and honest regarding, location, salary, hours, role description, responsibilities, that is going to be key to ensure you're nurturing and having a successful relationship with your recruiter. So that's the portion for recruiters. I hope that's been helpful, and that you start to think about some people you could reach out to and start to get those contacts going. We're now going to shift over to resume essentials. I know I've spoken about resumes here, quite a bit with Lighthouse Labs, but it's so important because this is literally, like I said, your walking advertisement. So we want to make sure that you have these fundamentals down packed. So number one is a profile statement. And I get this question all the time. Well, do I need to have an objective statement, a profile statement? Like, what is it that I need to have? So a profile statement and an objective statement are two different things. A profile statement lays out who you are, a little blurb about your experience, and what you bring to the table. An objective statement is the purpose of the resume. So my objective is to find a full-time job in the IT industry. Well, yes, of course, that's why I'm reading your resume, because you're looking for a job. But your profile statement really nicely highlights, who you are, your years of experience, what you want to get into. So for example, an HR professional with 10 plus years working with recruitment and talent acquisition processes to ensure that the organization is constantly, having a good employer brand within new markets. That is a profile statement versus, a recruiter looking for a job, please hire me. So you want to make sure that you're using your profile statement properly, because it can literally be the red carpet to the rest of your resume. You want to make sure that you have the roles with the company title, geographical region, and timeline. So where did you work? What was the name of the company? Was it in Toronto or Sudbury? Was it in, a small city versus a large city? That can give a lot of context to the type of work that you did as well. And then of course, how long you've worked there for. So some people just like to put the years. I suggest putting the month and the year, because again, 2019 to 2020, were you there a day, a month, the whole year, 6 months? I don't really know. But by having the dates accurate, it will allow me to know, how much experience you do have. And then you want to start with current and go into descending. So you want to make sure you have your latest and greatest up top, and then further down your previous positions. For your job descriptions, you want to have no more than 5 bullets. And it's key things that you've impacted. Anything else than that is too long. In addition to your resume, you want to have your education and certifications, technology skills, accomplishments, your contact information, and any and all social media links. For the technology skills, I did say depends on job. And the reason I said that is if you are more in an operational role where you have like, yeah, Word, PowerPoint, Excel, that's kind of a given nowadays. So if it's, using up too much real estate on your resume, you could probably leave some of those programs off. However, if you're a specialist, if you're an engineer, you're an accountant, you're a lawyer, and there's certain, softwares that you must use within your profession, listing those out is going to be very important. So here's some resumes do's and don'ts. So definitely start with a template. Resumes can be daunting tasks. You don't need to start one from scratch. If you literally just Google resume template and then the industry or the job, you will get hundreds of options of how to do your resume. So start from a template. It will make filling in the content a lot easier. Number 2, use data points and metrics. Because a resume is all words, when you do splash in a couple numbers here and there, your eyes or the reader's eyes are drawn to it. So you want to make sure that you're using data points and metrics to really itemize and show your accountability within your position. Number 3, you want to keep it simple. Again, those 4 to 5 bullet points is what you need. And you want to keep the most important stuff at the very top. For example, if you are a receptionist, of course you're going to be answering phones because that's the nature of the role. But maybe you did data inputting, maybe you did inventory, maybe you worked on a key project. Those are the things you really want to highlight in your position. Number 4, get someone else to review it. When we get too deep in a document, it's very easy to miss some key details or grammar errors. So getting a friend or someone you trust to review it is going to be key to get that feedback. And then also be positive and have patience. As we know, the job search can be quite, exhausting. Continue to look at your resume, continue to see what changes you can make to land the right position. And then on the don't side, make sure you're not squishing too much information in there. Keeping it simple and clean is best. Do not use terms you are not familiar with. I know some people who kind of like copy and paste job descriptions and then, to try to beat the ATS system. That will not get you the job, my friend. And if you ever get questioned on it, then you don't want to look like you don't know what you're talking about. So use terminology and use words that you're familiar with and things that you actually did. Don't get too crazy on the design side. If you want to add a splash of color, you can definitely do so, like maybe a blue bar down the side or an underline in a different color. But unless you're on the design, say graphic design side, I wouldn't, for a corporate like professional resume, I wouldn't play too much with the color. And then as mentioned, don't take job postings word for word and put them in your resume. It will not do any favors in the long run. And so now that we've kind of wrapped up the resume portion, I want to dive into upskilling yourself to put your best foot forward. Because right now, especially if you're not working and being at home with COVID, you have an amazing opportunity to upskill yourself. Those, classes or online courses you've been wanting to take, now is the time to do it because companies are hiring. A lot of hiring that was kind of frozen has been, reactivated. So employers are looking and they're looking fast. So how do you utilize this time to not only help your search, but also make you a better professional as well? So you can develop your emotional intelligence. EQ is all about having a deeper awareness of your emotions with other people, with yourself, and just being a better human being overall. A lot of managers now, and there's a report on this that I unfortunately can't recollect, but that managers that do have a higher EQ are seen to have at least 15% increase in job success, satisfaction, and career growth. So having that emotional intelligence, understanding empathy and communication styles is so key. Whether you're a manager or not, we all have to communicate now virtually, and making sure that you're really trying to connect with people is going to be so important. Number 2, upskill yourself on your work stress tolerance and management. So learning not to burn yourself out, and as well when you notice burnout in others. And burnout isn't necessarily just working long hours, but it could be things that you love to do, but you're spending maybe a little bit too much time doing it. You want to make sure that there's a balance in everything that you do and that you're taking the self-care that you need. And then spending time networking. We are in holiday season, my friends. There are virtual holiday parties, social distancing parties. Use this time to get out there and meet people to network. Career networking is anything that you can do to connect you with peers in your industry. So don't worry about asking them questions or appearing that, you're not a part of that group. Get out there, introduce yourself, start to, polish up some of your communication skills, utilizing your elevator pitch, and really getting out there to meet new people. There are incredible apps now like Meetup that will talk about different things happening in your city, whether virtually or in person. And so you can meet professionals very quickly within a short amount of notice with great apps and platforms like that. So networking is super important. And then also training. There's a lot of free or low cost training now available, especially through government sponsored subsidies. So if you want to visit, your local community college or university to see what kind of free seminars and webinars they have to your industry, that could be absolutely amazing for that certification or that credit that you need. And then also the certification. So a lot of jobs, can have a higher pay grade if you're certified in a certain way. So get that certification, take that 2-3 month program and get those letters on your resume. That can help you stand above and beyond with other candidates. And then there are, on top of it, tons of free courses. There's Coursera, Udemy, iTunes, you for cheap or free courses, for your industry or for a new industry you're looking to pivot into. And then even if you're not that strong on your Word, Excel, PowerPoint, there are tons of great resources online that will help you get more equipped in those areas. So really utilize this time for self-development, increasing your skills and capacities, and putting all of that again back on your resume, because that's what we're trying to do here. Continue to grow by 10 to 30% next year, especially if you're in the tech sector. Freelancing is an awesome way to get experience as well as start to earn a little bit of money working on different projects and with a variety of clients. So if you're learning a new skill, if you want to get, a little bit more polished before going into a full-time role, freelancing can be an incredible opportunity for you to get that experience, put that on your resume, and then as well start to earn some money on the side as well. And some people have literally quit their full-time jobs just to freelance because they're making literally over 6 figures. So there's definitely money in this industry, and I encourage everybody to check it out. Find a platform that works for you. There's freelancer.com, there is Fiverr, there is Upwork. So there's a lot of websites that you can put your profile up. You can apply to freelance jobs, or people can reach out to you and engage with you that way as well. So definitely check this out as an option, either in your down period or just to try something new within your career. Wonderful. So now we are going to talk about branding, and this goes right back to the marketing piece and the networking piece, because, if you're out there meeting people, you got to make sure you know what you're saying, and you got to make sure you're knowing what you're talking about. And so because the market is so competitive, it is so important that we are continuing to brand ourselves. And it sounds, the word branding can sound a lot more scarier and daunting than it is, but I assure you with these steps, it will be very easy and probably even a little bit of fun as you start to discover what those elements look like. So first and foremost, you want to determine your strengths. When you're, identifying your brand, you want to know, okay, what is my brand about? For myself, I'm an HR professional. So my brand is all about, job searching, job readiness, career readiness, diversity and inclusion training, executive coaching, because those are the skills that I use every single day. So when I brand myself, those are the words that I want to be associated with when I'm meeting new people and when I'm marketing myself. So think about that for you. If you're an accountant, are you corporate, small business? What type of softwares do you use? Start to think about your strengths, but looking at it from a different lens of, how these could be attributes of my brand. Number 2 is you want to identify your passions. What drives you to improve? What is the thing that is continually helping you move forward? Because those passions are things that are going to come through when you're speaking to someone. So even if it doesn't necessarily have something to do with your brand, your career brand, but say, you're an accountant by day and a chef by night, that's awesome. Or say you have a side restaurant or a side business. That's really cool. So those little things can just add so much flavor and just so much interest to you and your brand. And don't shortcut those things. Those could be really important. And again, separate you from other candidates or people your potential employer could be looking at. You want to discover what makes you different. So kind of back into identifying your passion. What are the things that you have that your competitors don't? Maybe, you're more effective at highlighting certain things than other people. Maybe you have a different experience or skill set than other people. Those are the things that you want to capture and highlight as your branding profile, because then again, that's going to get the right attention and the right eyes. And then number 4 is you want to publicize yourself. So whether you're using LinkedIn, Facebook, other social media platforms, start to put yourself out there as the subject matter expert of XYZ. That is how people are going to see you. That's how they're going to want to interact with you. And it's going to be so important when you're starting those conversations, because you could speak to your strengths and skill set in a really confident way. You want to then start to build a reputation online. So as you start to meet new people, start to do some of the work that you've been advertising that you do, people are going to start to review you, and people are going to start hearing about you through the grapevine, through their social circles. When I started to build my brand, I tell you, at first no one knew who I was. I was just a random person on earth. But when I started to put myself out there on social media, I created my Alicia M. Campbell brand to support my Culture Shift HR brand, literally in the DMs a couple months later. And I just started doing it this year. I'm getting people to do, career coaching, resume redesign, diversity and inclusion training. So I'm now starting to build a little bit of a brand and reputation of what I do in the market. So it takes time, but it's absolutely worth it. And then connect with your peers. Identify other people in the industry that you relate to or do similar work as you, and talk to them. Ask them how they got their audience. Ask them how they manage the different challenges within their branding, framework. And then that will help you to see kind of what to do versus not to do, and kind of avoid some of those pitfalls if they've had any. And then you want to determine your niche audience. So who does my brand really speak to? Me personally, I love working with small to medium-sized businesses. I can work with big brands and big businesses, but I just find that there's so much disconnect and so much, red tape. Give me a small team where I can communicate. We can have, great work, brainstorming sessions. That's where I get my high from. So understanding what that market looks like for you, your audience, is going to be so key in making sure that you find success. And then last but definitely not least is analyze your competition. There are new consultants out there. There are new accountants, tech people, graphic designers out there every single day. So you want to make sure that as you're continuing to build your brand, keep the eye out of who's popping up in the market. And not all competition is bad competition. You can partner with these people, collaborate with these people. There's so much that can come again from networking. So identify who's up and coming in the market as well, and see what tools and tips you can take from them too. And so as we wrap up, we are going to talk about how to maximize your search during the holidays. As I mentioned, we are full in holiday mode. I'm in the States right now, and next week is Thanksgiving, so a lot of people are super excited. So how do we make sure that in this downtime, when things are getting a little bit slower, how do we make sure that we're maximizing every single minute? So of course, as always, update your resume. If you've done any recent work, maybe you've done a short-term contract, a couple weeks, a couple months, make sure that experience is on your resume. If you did a course, a new accreditation, make sure it's on your resume. That is going to be A1. And then with that, take a new course or a program online. A lot of times, organizations shut down for a week or two, so you may not get any replies on the resumes you submitted. So take that time to learn and develop yourself. Of course, network. Again, this is a great time, holiday parties, virtual parties, network and meet new people, because literally opportunities and great opportunities can come from networking. Whether it's online or in person, making sure you're growing your network is absolutely key. Make a list of potential contacts and draft emails. Instead of sending emails to follow up on applications, write it out, put it in your drafts, and then on Jan 4th, when we're all back in the office, then start to send those out. Because what's going to happen is, as you're sending them over the holiday season, they're going to get lower and lower in the inbox. So write it out, make sure it's good, save it, and then when you're ready, send that out so it's at the top of the inbox. Work on your social media presence. So it's all about that branding. Maybe you have a friend that's in photography, get them to do a couple of headshots, have some fun with it. Make sure, again, your social media presence is updated with the latest and greatest information on your resume, and just making sure that everything, if an employee would see it, they would be impressed, or they would want to contact you for more information. A little bit of a teaser. Get your references in order. Some companies, when they start to interview, they can interview very fast. And if your references are taking time off or won't be available in the holiday season, you want to make sure that you have some backups in store as well. So, just confirm with your contacts if they're going to be around during the holiday season, the best contact, email, phone, WhatsApp, just making sure that you're, getting your references in order for that portion in the job hunt is going to be very key. And look at contracts or seasonal work that is available. I know some people hate sitting around the house and they need to keep busy. So see if there's any seasonal work, contract work, as people are taking vacation, companies are still possibly working. So maybe they need someone to fill in for an accountant role for a week or two, or just do some data entry. Whatever work that might be for you, see what type of seasonal opportunities are available to, again, make sure that gets on your resume to show that you are working. And then last but not least, as we mentioned before, self-care is the most important care. Use this time to decompress, de-stress, bake some cookies, hot chocolate, invite a friend over, do like a Christmas movie marathon, whatever it is that brings you joy. Please make sure you are making time for that during this holiday season because you deserve it. Well, that is all for the content this afternoon. I want to thank everybody again for taking the time to spend your afternoon with us. I'm so hopeful that these tips will help you to not only find your ideal job, but get you through the holiday season as well. If you have any questions or you want to know more about me, I do one-to-one career coaching, group coaching, lunch and learns, webinars, panels, keynote talks, and training. So if you're interested in working with me on a more personal level, please don't hesitate to reach out. And then now we're going to take some questions and answers.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Alicia. I like you listing off all the things that you do. You literally do everything. Um, there are a couple of questions in the chat here, and lots of thank yous, and this was great. One question is, should you wait for a recruiter to look for you, or should you actively seek out recruiters?
Great question. 100% seek out recruiters. Like I was mentioning, they are extremely busy. They have people applying to the jobs that they post, plus they're getting referrals and recommendations from other candidates. So with your job search, you have to be aggressive. You have to reach out to people, follow with people, because they may not, again, with people's availabilities, they may not get back to you. So if you want to work with a recruiter, seek that out yourself. So make sure that it's also the right fit for what you're looking for in your job search.
That makes a lot of sense. I know that there's a lot of alumni from Lighthouse in the audience, and one of our alumni is asking a question that comes up a lot about personal branding and how you brand yourself when you have limited experience in this new industry. For our alumni, it's in the tech industry when you're coming from a completely unrelated field. Do you have any tips on that?
Yeah, so I would say what's really important with that career pivot that you've just done is that you highlight the experience that is still relevant, any piece of it within the resume. Because even if it's a different industry or a different role, if it's project management, if it's working with people, working with teams, that could still be really relevant. So I would still include that. And then this is where the profile statement is so great, because you can start to talk a little bit about your journey. So, recent grad of Lighthouse Labs, dev program, looking to pivot my career to do XYZ, previous experience in, project management, analytics, and data from previous roles. That then tells me, okay, you're new in this industry, but you have some really great experience that this role actually has that I can kind of leverage. So utilize the profile statement and the cover letter to kind of tell a little bit of that career story and that career journey. And then also in the interview, when you get the interview, explain that as well, like why you made the change, why you love this industry, what you loved about the program. These are really great talking points that an employer would be really impressed with.
Yeah, it's definitely easier sometimes to talk in person about those career changes. It takes time and sometimes makes you want to rip your hair out when you're writing it in a few sentences of a
Yes.
resume summary. Philip is asking, since we want to tailor resumes and cover letters for specific jobs, do you have any strategic tips for public online resumes or portfolios or websites?
Great question. I would say make sure it demonstrates, the best variety of content that you have. So say there was a client that you worked with and you were really impressed with the work there and it's more recent, I would highlight your more recent work, versus maybe something you did a couple of years ago where you were maybe kind of just starting out in your career. So highlighting the recent stuff is great. Adding any reviews or any feedback that you've gotten through that time as well is going to be really key. And I would say simple is always best. Don't overcrowd your portfolios with too much information, too much content. Make sure it's highlighting the key skills and areas that you're trying to find work for or trying to demonstrate to your clients, because that's what we want them to see. We don't want them to get lost in everything else. So keeping it simple is best.
Perfect. And on that note, keeping it simple is best. Do you recommend one-page resume? When is it okay, if ever, to go on to two?
Yes, great question. I would say you can go to two when you probably have reached maybe that 8 to 10 year mark, in your career, of experience that is relevant. So if you're just making this career pivot from an old or a previous career to a new career, you don't have to include like 2 pages of old experience. Again, maybe have some career highlights experience section, but really keep it to one page to demonstrate the new experience that you have or that you're looking to seek after. Like you can go to 2 pages as long as the content is relevant. Give them a reason to want to go to page two. If you can't answer that question, then I try to continue to stick with the one page format, because then again, you want to make sure that any bullets you have are highlighting the experience, that is relevant to the position. So we want to make sure we're just not using space just to use space, but that we're getting the content that matters the most on the first page.
Yeah, it's definitely quality over quantity
Quantity,
comes
absolutely.
resumes. Yeah. And just keeping an eye on the time here, this is probably the last question, but we have one more. In your opinion, what's the better way to frame wanting growth in a new role or company without sounding unappreciative of the role you're applying for? For example, moving on from one entry level role for another in a different organization.
Okay. I would say, hmm, I guess even if it's the same level role, I mean the cultural dynamics are different, the work might be different, technology might be different. So I would utilize those different points of why you want to move, or why this is the experience you're seeking, or why this is the opportunity for you. So use those differentiators to help explain why you're looking for that move, and how once you get that experience, how it's going to add value to your long-term career growth
Okay, we have one more, and I think we have time to
plan.
squeeze it in. How important is a cover letter to most of the employers out there? How much does the cover letter attract the employers in terms of um, your resume getting read?
Right. Yeah. I would say, it's not important. Like, the resume is A1. Like, having your resume, if I had to choose one over the other, resume is top dog. However, cover letter is important because in a lot of applications they do ask for additional resources or cover letter. So any opportunity you have to talk about yourself, make sure you're utilizing that. So even if they never read it, or if they read your resume and they're like, I want to learn more, there's a cover letter. Okay, great. Or there's not. Okay, I might move on. So have it ready, have it handy. Will you use it? Will you not use it? It really kind of depends on the job application process. But I would say have it at the ready in case you ever need it, because you don't want to be in a situation where you need it and you don't have it.
Awesome, cool. And
Yeah.
the chat has quieted down, so I think we've got all the questions. But again, the recording will be sent out. So if you do have more questions after you rewatch or after you sleep on it tonight, Alicia put her social media handles up there. So feel free to definitely message or follow Alicia on those. You can also always respond to the Career Accelerator emails. It is myself and my colleague Justine who's on the other side of it. It's not a robot. So we're always happy to answer your questions. And again, if you have any questions for me about Lighthouse Labs, I'll throw my email in the chat. And that is pretty much it for today. Thank you so much,
Yeah,
Alicia, for joining us. As always,
thank you.
for those of you who are interested in coming to Alicia's events in the future, you'll be receiving that through the Career Accelerator newsletter. And that's it from me. Thanks so much, Alicia.
Great. Thank you so much, Caroline. And thank you so much, everybody. Best of luck in your searches. And I hope everyone has a great holiday season. Bye.